Douglas Adams once wrote, "I may not have gone where I intended to go, but I think I have ended up where I needed to be." How might this quote describe an experience in your life? In the 90s I lived in Springfield, Mo, and absolutely loved it there. Never wanted to be anywhere else. My wife finished college and got a job in another state not far away. I didn't want to move there but did reluctantly. Within a couple of years, I absolutely loved it there. Made a ton of friends, had a great job, and couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Lived there 20 years and thought it would be where I die. Last year we moved to Connecticut, again for my wife's job, and I love it here too and can't really imagine moving back. It turns out, it's not the place I live, but who I live with that matters. My wife is my home, and where she is where I need to be. Edit, thanks for all the awards and comments. I now understand what people mean when they write my inbox blew up. I hope you all have a great holiday season and stay safe and healthy. I was a certified Ford mechanic, 2008 to 2009 happened, and no work was coming in. Got a job offer to teach auto mechanics in Iraq to the new Iraqi army. As a result, I learned I have a passion for people trying to better their life. I ended up sponsoring my Iraqi interpreter to come to the US. Since then I came back and finished my degree, and now I'm in learning design at an amazing company. My Iraqi brother is now married here in the States to an amazing wife, and they have a kid. He has a great job and is finishing his degree as well. Life can be an amazing journey. Enjoy the ride. It took several years to conceive our son. By the time he was 3-year-old, we had tried many times with medical assistance for a second. We have up and started an adoption. Well, after we got all the paperwork together and sent off to China, we found out my wife was expecting. Okay, we can deal with that. As my wife put it, what's the worst that could happen? But the ultrasound showed that it was twins. So my kids are 18, 14 and 14 now. It's not what we would have ever planned, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Edit, ascribing it all to stress seems to be common. That comes across telling them it's all in your head, and blaming them for the years of infertility and often multiple miscarriages they have suffered. Dealing with infertility itself causes stress far more than stress causes infertility. My cousins also struggled with infertility for several years and started fostering a baby boy in September with plans to adopt him in a few months. 1 week after they got the foster baby, they found out they're pregnant. In April they'll be welcoming a daughter and they'll be eligible to adopt their baby boy. It's amazing how these things work out sometimes. Love these comments about adoption. The world is awash in orphans. Perhaps I'm mistaken, but isn't there a significant waiting list in the US for babies to adopt? Obviously the US isn't the world, but my understanding is that the bigger issue is teenager plus orphans are far less likely to be adopted. I was one of those hard to adopt kids. The unofficial cutoff age is around 10 years old. It's also a lot harder the longer you've been in the system, because it's traumatic in its own way too. I got home once and absent-mindedly threw away my socks for no reason. I just took them off and put them in the trash. When I realized what I did, I dug through the trash only to find out that both socks had holes in them. Turns out they belonged in the trash anyway. I've never found a quote describe that situation more perfectly than this one. I guess maybe you noticed the holes before, but only subconsciously remembered them. While getting my degree, I was just taking classes that interested me that also had to do a little with my major. Turns out I was getting my minor in chemistry without even realizing it. Are you me? I always tell people I did my degree ass backwards because I started in engineering, made about 5 changes to my major and ended up in chem. Chemistry always comes when you least expect it. Edit, I really don't know why this blew up. When I was younger I used to sleepwalk. I walked straight to the end of the hall where there were 2 doors, one to the bathroom and one to my older brother's room. Opened the door, lifted the lid, and peed. Turns out I had opened the door, lifted my brother's blanket, and peed. Not where I intended, but I finally got back at that jerk for farting on me for years. Not where I intended, suu rei. He pretended to sleepwalk for a year to set this up. The dedication is truly admirable. The fated time had come at last, he rose before the moment passed, he walked the hall and out of view, he whispered, ''M.M.A. Piss on you. I love you, Sprague. I think life is happier when you learn to let go of the what-ifs and appreciate what you have. Live in the moment. Not recklessly, but appreciatively. Slow down and cherish what you have, because it may not be there tomorrow. This. People seem to think they'll only ever be happy when they reach a certain goal. When X happens, I'll be happy. I try to appreciate what I have right now in the journey I'm on. I may have an average car, rented house and little family, but I love all these things. Yes, a ton of money would make it easier to buy things, but I'm happy where I am right now, loving the journey. P.S. Have a great Christmas all. Got a job in concert security. Somehow. I'm a tiny, incredibly non-intimidating 54 female who at the time had waist-length blonde hair. I was terrified and had no idea what I was doing. Anything involving security is not something I ever imagined my quiet self doing, and it really shocks people when they find out. But I gained so much confidence from that job. You have to be pretty assertive to tell a sexist old redneck white guy that his pocket knife is not coming in no matter how much of a tantrum he throws. I learned pretty quick not to take any shit from people like that. Also got to interact with artists and other celebrities occasionally, which is an interesting experience and entirely different skill set. Still no concerts where I am thanks to COVID, but I'll be going back to that job as soon as I can. Man, I don't think I could do security of any kind. Way too stressful. Also, I don't want to deal with a bunch of drunk assholes. I did security at Menard's lumberyard for about a year. Had to get the police involved 4 times. Once for a guy trying to run me over, and 3 times on Amish customers who were blatantly trying to steal. What's popping off at the lumberyard? The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. Gavrilo Princip. So that's what G-Man stands for. I wanted to be a teacher. I currently work at a thrift store. Today one of my managers told me how much me working there means to her. I feel like this every few weeks when I really help a kid or parent, child psychologist. I must be where I need to be at least some of the time. Still wish I was a rock star though. Smile. The older you get, the more you realize that this is true for the majority of people. Yep, I had a plan out of college. Got a job outside my degree in public policy in Texas, across the country, then I got a job in robotics in Philly, and now I'm a writer in Salt Lake City. At some point my plans fell apart, but I'm so glad they did. I'm loving my life. COVID wrecked my plans to move away from my hometown. However, being in this area has provided me with opportunities to get a decent paying job, one I applied for a year ago but didn't get at the time, and to teach classes at a local community college. Very valuable experience as I hope to someday go further in academia. The circumstances that allowed me to get this job were somewhat uncommon, so I was very lucky to have this opportunity here. I still want to move away after a year or 2, but for now I'm at a good spot. You are missing some important context. Just prior to that, Dirk says, something along the lines of, I find someone who looks like they know where they are going and follow them. Then ends that with, I may not go where I intend to go but usually end up where I need to be. This is the holistic part of his detective agency philosophy. I applied this by following the Grateful Dead on the Touch of Grey tour. I suffered an extreme trauma that took my legs. I also went through a month trapped in my own nightmares while in an induced coma. Needless to say, it is an experience I would never put anyone else through. I came out the other side of that far more empathetic, patient, and understanding as well. The personality change is so drastic, people that knew me before say I'm an entirely different person. I'm a loving father as this new me. I met the love of my life as this new me. Despite how hard living in this body is, I love life more than ever. If I could see into the past and alter what happened, I wouldn't. The suffering was horrific, but transformative. To become who I am now, the accident must happen. I'm sorry past me, but if I'm honest, you aren't a good person. I don't miss being you. I am in this transition over years of functional addiction. I find that now I can endlessly listen to other people and understand instead of being an arrogant ass. I don't fully know who I am yet, but as someone who always wanted faster, bigger, better, I now find I can literally wait without complaint, listen quietly, and be slow. Too bad it took and is still taking a physical toll. But I know it will change my life for the better.